Starting live video. We on? We're good? Can you see me? Are we on? Hi. Good morning. Thanks for joining us for the latest SilviaFindings live stream. We're finishing up the... Hi, Andrea. Yay. We're finishing up the pearl pendants today. Next week we'll start on the rings. And I expect rings will take a couple weeks at least. Yeah, we'll probably be on rings right through April. Yeah. Also, it was just, we were talking this morning because we keep getting questions about, simple questions about how to, which I feel like, when we're at shows and, we're meeting you guys face to face, especially at gem shows and lapidary shows, mineral shows, it seems like the people who attend those shows have a really good understanding of, first of all, what the product is. They know what they're looking at, but also they already get how to set it, or they're right there, so they can ask, hey, how do I do this thing? Actually, at shows, normally I set the stones for free if you ask, and they're not two things. Hey, I know you can do rings and golds, but can you get pendants? Yeah, Andrea, for custom stuff, we can do anything. We can cast in any terrestrial metals. Obviously, alien metals don't apply, but for custom work, we do tons of gold. What's strangely enough, what's really popular is 9-carat gold. I get it's a real budget, obviously it's only 9 versus 24 carats, which 24 carats. This is also another thing that I'm not sure a lot of people, oh my God, so many segues. I have to bring all these threads back together. I promise I will. In case you aren't aware, gold carats are measured by, it's a ratio of 24. So 24 is pure gold, 24 carats, pure gold. So 18 karat gold is 18 parts gold, 6 parts something else. So what's the ratio? 75%, right? 12 karat gold, well, 14 karat gold is kind of the more usual one, is like 57% gold, right? So 14 parts gold, 10 parts something else. 9 karat gold, which is less than, obviously it's less than half gold. What is it, like a third, almost a third, only a third gold. It looks great. It still has that lovely orange warmth, depending how you alloy it, but it's really inexpensive. And yeah, we've been doing lots of pendants in that, in 9 karat, 14 karat. We can do 9 karat, 10 karat, 14 karat, any alloy, because they alloy it at the factory. I guess if you really wanted, they could do even higher, 22 karat, which is really popular in the Middle East, India. They love that dark orange gold tones in the jewelry. It's pretty soft though, so I don't recommend it, but just neither here nor there. And we could do yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, you name it. Yeah, we do all that stuff, anyway, so that was one strand that I'm pulling back. The other strand is, right, seeing as, we see people at shows and we're showing them how to do, setting and stuff, or they already have a pretty good understanding, because if you are at a lapidary show, you're already, know what you're going for, right? You're going to see stones, you're going to see things, you have a good idea of that end of it, the lapidary end of it. And, a lot of lapidaries that I know are also silversmiths, or, also, whatever they do, casting. So they already have a pretty good grip on how to use our products. But we're expanding a lot. We've got the Etsy store going now, and the website is obviously, it's everywhere, and we're getting a lot more, I guess, what you would consider retail customers, people who maybe aren't as familiar with the techniques required to do that. So we were talking about developing a little series of videos of just simple 3-4 minute how-tos, for the different kinds of prong settings we have and the different kinds of things, because not all prongs are the same, right? There might be, off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 different kinds of prong settings that we have in all of our pendants, and they're all designed for a specific purpose, but usually, you can use them however you want, right? If that makes sense. But anyway, neither here nor there. So, looks like 2021 is going to be pretty much a wash until the fall. So we're still not going to be doing shows again, although I expect Calgary to announce one coming next week anytime. I'm sorry, I keep dumping on Calgary. Poor Alberta. I don't mean to. I love you guys. You're awesome. Actually, one of my best friends in the whole world lives in Calgary. I've known him for, gosh, 40 something years. Anyway, so clearly we're not able to come out and see you guys at shows, and we want to be able to keep doing this interaction and stuff. So in the meantime, we'll keep doing these online catalogs. Andrea, I know you hope there's a show in Calgary. We did one. There was one just, what was it? When was it? It was October. Like October, what? This is like the middle of a pandemic and you're having a gem show. It seemed crazy to me, but I guess it was safe. Everybody wore masks and there was a lot of social distancing, and it turned out to be fine. I don't want to know if there was any spike in COVID rates after that thing. Oh, you were away? Oh, sorry. It wasn't good. It was a terrible show. No, it was great. It was awesome. It was nice to see people. I didn't go because, I'm not going to Calgary in the middle of a pandemic. But Marble and Nelson went, and they said it was good. It was great. It was cold, which you would expect from Calgary in October. But anyway, that's that. I'm not going to do a lot of preamble today. Canada Post, still terrible. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like sometimes, and I get, I can send something from here to, I just sent something last week to Maryland, literally the other side of the continent. And pretty far south, not all the way south, is mid-Atlantic, so, halfway down the country, down the continent, but still it's the other end. It's literally from one Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, and it took 5 days. I can't even ship something from here to Coquitlam in 5 days, which I could walk there in a couple of hours. It's like, I get it. We don't have the density, the population density in Canada. We're really spread out. Infrastructure is tricky, because you have lots of little communities that everybody has to get served and stuff. And it's, but come on. We're a first world country. It's the it's the 21st century now. My biggest thing is still with the tracking. You can buy tracking for a package, but if I mail something from here, we have a customer right now in Montreal that's waiting for a shipment that we shipped it 10 days ago or so, and this tracking still shows a label has been created. And that's it. There's not like, oh yes, it was received at the local thing in Richmond and it's on a truck to wherever the next center is, or I think nothing. And this is normal for Canada Post. You'll get, you'll start seeing tracking information when it arrives at the distribution center, or I should say, usually the final distribution center. I know that when we ship stuff to most of Ontario, we don't start seeing tracking until it arrives in Mississauga, which I guess is one of their big centers. So it's an issue, People get freaked out, like, oh my God, you never ship my package. No. Trust me, it's out there. It's going. You'll get it. But you won't know you'll get it until literally the day before it goes out for delivery. That's when tracking will show up and start saying, hey, we got your package, in your local sorting facility. So anyway, as opposed to like UPS or you know, FedEx, which if they move it from one side of the truck to the other, they scan it and you'll see that show up in your thing. You know, there's that many that many scans happen to a packages, and I get it. It's not as nah, whatever. I'm good. I'm good. I can I can do this. Right. What else? Don't forget, if you share the video, I don't know why you would share this video. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you have friends who like weird things. We'll send you one of these little polishing cloths. It's probably not worth it to to alienate your friends by sharing this video just for a polishing cloth, but the offer's out there. Don't forget, anything that you order today during the live stream, we will send to you free. No, is it free? It is free shipping. Yeah, free shipping for regularly priced orders. What else? I think that 10% discount off regularly priced items. And the shipping, the free shipping is not tracking shipping. It's just supposed to, like, literally, we lick the stamp and stick it on the package, and then it goes. And if it gets to you, great. If not, we'll figure it out someday in the future. Yeah. What else? Custom orders are filling up. I think literally, I feel like the first couple days back from vacation, when the factory is back from New Year's and Spring Festival, yeah, when they're back from Spring Festival, holidays beginning of March, like the first couple of days they're gonna be casting only custom things. I feel like there are that many, which is great. I love it. There's so many good custom things coming up. Yeah, a lot of discussion about you know, ways to streamline that whole process going on at the you know, inside. But I don't want to talk inside politics here, because you'll know when things think. But it's awesome service, and you won't find custom jewelry designed for you, made for you, built for you, cheaper. It's just, there's nowhere that does it the price that we do it for. And we do it because of the way that we do it. You know, usually if you bring an idea into a jeweler, if it's a drawing or a photograph of a piece of jewelry that you really liked, and, well, I like this thing, let's change some things, you know, because you don't want to copy something, you know, exactly one for one, because that's just wrong, right? Come on. But you know, they would have to take that drawing, you know, they would have to carve a wax blank. Some jewelers are kind of catching on and doing the 3D CAD thing. That's how we do it, right? We have 3D designers who design the 3D images of your piece, and I wish I had a sample of it to show you. Oh, you know what? I think whatever. They do the 3D design of the piece, and then once you approve it, we do 3D we print with resin. And, you know, it's not like a regular 3D printer where you see the kinds that you can buy for, you know, $600 and you can print your own little doodads at home. Those ones have really low resolution. I don't know if you've ever looked at those things very closely, but you can see like lines. It's almost like a 3D topographic map. If you've ever seen, you know, them, how they work, you can see the lines between the layers. The 3D printer that they have and I think there's a video somewhere on YouTube, somewhere, you know, on our YouTube channel where it shows the process. But that 3D scanner or 3D printer is like super high resolution. You know, the textures are really smooth. Anyway, they take that one after they 3D printed, and that's it. And that's their wax blank, and then they just cast that, right? So there's, you know, not a lot of manual labor up to that point. You know, casting is casting. They tree everything up, and they, you know, they do the casting same as normal. You know, but because there's not, you know, 10 hours of carving involved by a jeweler who's already not making enough money as it is, you know, cut out the middleman, as we say. Anyway, let's go on to the pendants, because I feel like I've already taken up too much of your time. 14 minutes of blah, 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 and you guys don't want to hear that. You want to see what we've got. So let's get this going here. That's the button to make it go to the other channel. And our first item today. MTP, oops, that's sideways. MTP 438 with a retail price of $28.12 and a wholesale price of $18.75. And again, the difference between the wholesale price and the retail price is just to get the wholesale price, you need to spend $150 is a minimum to get that price. And it doesn't have to be all in one thing, right? So you can mix and match. And honestly, boy, it doesn't really take that many products to reach $150. And it's $150 at the wholesale level, right? So it's not like you can order, 5 of these and reach $150. You'd have to order, whatever it is, 8. 64, 68, 60, yeah, 8 point something, so you'd have to get $150 at the wholesale level. Anyway, not very difficult. MTP 438. So this is just another thing, just carrying on from last week. This lovely infinity sign with an inverted teardrop and cubic zirconias. It's got that cup and peg, and the peg, you can see that nice and tall, right? Probably depending on the size of your pearl or stone or whatever you're going to glue onto there, you end up cutting that down a little bit, right? And I think almost all of the ones that I'm going to show you today have this kind of open cup thing. Although, again, just extrapolating from last week, you could seal off the back, tape off the back with some electrical tape or something nice and sticky and smooth. Snip that little post off and then fill that with epoxy resin of some kind. I know I'm I'm a little bit obsessed with the epoxy resin right now. MTP 180 with a retail price of $24.39 and a wholesale price of $15.25. It's just I don't know, a leaf, I guess, with cubic zirconias in the stem, and again, nice big cup, nice solid piece. That probably you're looking at I don't know, what is that? I can't see that. I don't know, 8 or 10 millimeter pearl. It's a pretty deep cup, so you probably can't get stuff that's too much bigger than the cup, because the peg doesn't extend too far past the rim of that, right? So your pearl, obviously the curvature of the pearl will go further down, but you don't want it to have it be too high up. I think like 8 or 10 millimeter pearl would be perfect in that. Our next item, MTP 183 with a retail price of $25.57 and a wholesale price of $15.99. This lovely, looks like a kind of a dogwood, maybe, reminiscent of a dogwood leaf. I love that open framework, I guess, right? The nice back, incorporate, or the soldered loop and bail, and a big cup, maybe a 12 millimeter pearl fit in there. Of course, anything smaller would work, because they've got that lovely pattern on the inside. You can get away with a really tiny pearl just to make it look like, oh, I have a little pearl in there. Look how cute that is. Our next item, MTP 119 with a retail price of $18.43 and a wholesale price of $11.52. And I guess love this kind of swirl. This bail is incorporated in the back. It's a nice, good 3-dimensional piece. Nice, I don't know, love that flourishes, I guess. Yeah. Again, probably, God, you can get a bigger pearl in there, probably 14, 16 millimeter pearl in there. And again, I say pearl, but I mean any kind of a stone that's half drilled. Again, this has super long posts. You probably don't need the post to be quite that big. And I'll probably show that on some of the, whatever video I do about how to dress the ends and what's the best way to tell how big of a, how long of a post you need. MTP 142 with a retail price of $12.48 and a wholesale price of $7.80. This one, I don't know what to make of it. It's got some indiscriminate shapes, some kind of spirals, some leaves. It's got everything. Lovely cubic zirconia in the top there, and cup and peg down at the bottom. For and the cup itself is probably only about 6 millimeters wide, but you could probably get away with a bigger pearl, maybe 8, maybe bigger, maybe 8, maybe 10 at the most. MTP 170 with a retail price of $21.23 and a wholesale price of $13.26. And this looks like one of my old filigree projects. It's got a lovely leaf with some cubic zirconias in one of the frames. I guess just the lovely veins of the leaf with that cup and peg down on the bottom. Again, good decent sized peg post. And how big of a pearl would that fit? Probably 10 or 12, I think, would be beautiful for that. Something like that. You know, there isn't, unlike the stones, the settings themselves that are, you know, calibrated for specific sizes of stones. These cup and peg mountings, you know, are really versatile. You can use them for lots of different sizes of stones. Yeah, MTP 176 with a retail price of $22.50 and a wholesale price of $14.07 with a lovely, I don't know, almost a plumeria looking leaf with the cubic zirconias in the tips of around the rim of the cup, but in the middle of the petals of the flower. That's why they look a little bit offset there. And that cubic zirconia is up in the stem, which is incorporated into the bale, right? Lovely, lovely. MTP 028 with a retail price of $11.35 and a wholesale price of $8.52. And it's just a lovely classical, I don't know, kind of swirlies, curls, little cubic zirconia in there that bale incorporated into the design with a lovely little cup and peg mounting down at the bottom. MTP 460 with a retail price of $13.99 and a wholesale price of $9.32. And this, God, I feel like I should know what this is. It's a, you know, a flower, chrysanthemum, not a chrysanthemum, something. We'll call it, yeah, that flower. And a cup and peg down on the bottom. Lovely three-dimensional piece. These probably looks like it's the equivalent of about 16 gauge, you know, wire. So nice and substantial, pretty thick. And lovely. Here's one that's more my speed. I love these busy postmodern, you know, crazy MTP 128 with a retail price of $21 and a wholesale price of $13.12. And golly, I don't know how do you describe it. It's just what it is, right? What you see is what you get. I love the beautiful curving lines with the cubic zirconias set around the frame and those bars radiating out from the cup and peg. Again, giant peg on there that you'd probably cut down to the length you need. The bale is incorporated into the design, so you know your chain would go down inside the design behind it. God, I just love that. I know it's MTP 021 with a retail price of $21 and a wholesale price of $13.99. Another kind of like a square that's been twisted around onto itself, right? Just by curving up the ends. Just very, very cool, very three-dimensional, very interesting, very... golly, all the lines kind of pull your eye in towards the center, cup and peg, right? Kind of feel like, even though you look at it from the front and it gives it that sort of helix spiral effect sort of thing, looking at it from the side, you see the 3D, you know, how three-dimensional that piece is. Very cool. See, we're losing our audience. We're down to 2 people. Huzzah! 2 people. Carry on. Probably one is Lise, who's not even really paying attention. She just has it on just to say that she's watching. MTP 014. Retail price is $13.82 and wholesale price is $8.79. I love this teardrop with the hearts in the top and the bail incorporated into the design. The little cup and peg. Can't see. Oh, I don't know if you can see these cute little cubic zirconias. Flush mount into those hearts. Love that. Very cool. These next few are, golly, I just love these. I don't know why. Maybe it's just something about the flowing lines and how they move and how, the movement of the piece itself just feels so, and by movement I mean the implied movement by the shape is just so supple. I just love this. MTP 187 with a retail price of $15.55 and a wholesale price of $9.72. With a nice big cup and peg mounting again, of course. Bail incorporated in the design. Lovely 3-dimensional piece. And God, I just love how that flows. And MTP 150 or 188 with a retail price of $21.23 and a wholesale price of $13.26. With a lovely, I don't know what that is, the baguettes down at the bottom on that thing, those stones set in there. Lovely shape. Kind of evoking clouds, evoking rain. How big of a pearl can you put in there? Probably looking 10, 12 millimeter up to maybe 14, depending. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to start losing these points here, that sort of thing. So probably 12 millimeter, I would go as high as, so anything from 6 millimeters up to 12. MTP 115 with a retail price of $33.85 and a wholesale price of $21.15. Sorry, that's MTP 118. What is that? 116. Third time's the charm. MTP 116. And it's just gorgeous, right? Flower with the pistils, with all the cubic zirconias in the petals and in the pistils, and these lovely little curlicue stems coming around, one of them having cubic zirconias in there. This is a lovely piece. Gorgeous, really big peg mounting that you probably, again, unless you're putting a stone that's, golly, 20 millimeters or something, you probably don't need the peg to be that big. But they're designed to be cut down to the size you need them. I would recommend in this probably not anything bigger than 10 millimeters. Yeah, maybe 12 at the most. Again, because at oh, Lisa's not watching. She is the 3-day live event. Oh, that's right. So, oh, now we're down to 1. I think that's you, Nelson. Angela finally bailed. Okay. MTP 153 with a retail price of $23.02 and a wholesale price of $14.39. Lovely inverted teardrop with some very groovy swirls on the inside, curls on the inside, and the lovely row of cubic zirconias, all the way up around both sides with that mill-grain texture on the outside edges of those frames. Just gorgeous piece. Lovely, very deep, 3-dimensional piece. Good sized basket. You probably wouldn't want anything bigger than a 10 millimeter pearl in there. 8 millimeter would be ideal, probably, for that, or smaller. MTP 218 with a retail price of $21 and a wholesale price of $13.99. This just lovely, very geometric sort of bale with the cubic zirconias in there, dangled from very simple cup and peg. The lovely thing about this is that you can put a pearl of any size, as small as maybe 4 millimeter, maybe 6 would be better to get a little more interest, all the way up to, golly, you can put probably 20 millimeter pearl in there to completely cover that, the cup and peg, right? It's deep enough and it's big enough and it's substantial enough that unless the pearl is, again, giant like that, like 20 millimeters, you won't have any, any issues with the weight of the pearl pulling forward. I wish there was a good name for that. In musical instruments, and especially in guitars and bass guitars, we have a name for when the neck is heavier than the body and it's not balanced correctly. We call that neck dive, where the anyway, the headstock end gets pulled down. And it's similar to what happens with settings when you have a stone that's much heavier than the setting, or the heaviest part of the setting is forward of the bale, then it tends to hang at an angle, like that sort of thing. Anyway, you won't have that issue with this lovely MTP 969 with a retail price of $43.91 and a wholesale price of $27.44. This lovely leaping marlin, or no, it's not a marlin. It's is there a fin at the top there? That's the bale. So dolphin, I guess we'll call it. We'll go with the dolphin. Leaping over your pearl. There's pave style cubic zirconias all the way up around in the head. Gorgeous piece. MTP 011 with a retail price of $17.15 and a wholesale price of $11. This, golly, what do you say about this? It's gorgeous, kind of almost an upside down paisley, kind of a stylized teardrop, right? With the bale cleverly incorporated into the design of the piece. And a lovely heart with a flush mount cubic zirconia inside and the cup and peg down at the bottom. You're looking at anything from 6 millimeter up to probably 10 millimeter on that. Yeah, gorgeous. MTP 173 with a retail price of $14.70 and a wholesale price of $9.19. Again, lovely three-dimensional piece. I don't know if you could see this, but this row of elements in the side almost looks like or it feels like it's a cup that's ready to envelope the pearl that's on the inside. We've got these lovely cubic zirconias in here and these other flourish elements. If you got a pearl big enough in there, so like maybe 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter or so, that would be able to extend all the way to the edge of that. That would just be gorgeous. Not that a smaller pearl wouldn't also look good in it, but I may be biased. LJ607 with a retail price of $19.92 and a wholesale price of $12.86. Again, another very three-dimensional piece. It's a leaf, obviously, with the veins cast. The stem folded over with this row of cubic zirconias and the cup and peg down in the bottom. Now, the nice thing about a piece like this is that even if you just cut the peg off, it'd be an interesting, pendant. But with the peg down in the middle like that, golly, you can get away with any size pearl you want. Small as 4 millimeter all the way up to probably 12, 14 millimeter before it starts to get too big and you start losing the idea of what this shape is, Again, you don't want the pearls to overwhelm the thing. Also, to be fair, something like a 20 millimeter pearl is pretty rare. to find a really good round one. MTP 976 with a retail price of $15.17 and a wholesale price of $9.48. This we've got a couple of these similar kind of things, and I just love these. The lovely bale with the cubic zirconias inside. It's a nice deep basket. Obviously, sunflower, I guess, is evocative of a sunflower with the cubic zirconias in the petals all the way around, and a nice deep round basket. So again, you have to be careful not to get a pearl that's too big. You probably don't want it to be much wider than the perimeter itself at all, which just off the top of my head, it looks like it's about 12 millimeters wide. So up to 12 millimeter pearls on that one. And this one, I took this off because this is, I couldn't really tell how this worked with the way it's mounted to the card. So MTP 115 with a retail price of $9.02 and a wholesale price of $5.33. And again, it's just simple, right? Soldered loop and bale with these three, golly, I don't know, kind of random sized, shaped petals, I guess. The cup and peg up at the top, so you glue your pearl up in there, and then you fold these over, bend these over onto the pearl, right? So you can bend them out in the first place. And then it would just look like it's, you know, got these things on them. It's very cool. But I have to admit to being a little bit... Let's just move on. MTP 297 with a retail price of $26.55 and a wholesale price of $18.27. And this is the one I was trying to polish the inside because it's been sitting in this tray for years. So you can see a little bit of dust on the inside of that. Obviously, when we send it to you, you see the ones in the bag here are lovely, clean, beautiful, shiny. Anyway, this is kind of a freeform, three-dimensional piece, almost like, golly, I don't know, MTP 297 with a lovely cup and peg down at the bottom. Although, anytime I see these kind of solid cup and peg, I get obsessed with the idea of filling it with epoxy resin. Well, you know what? People are laughing at me here. Everything could be filled with epoxy resin. I'm going to do a little tutorial on that, definitely on that. We've got this lovely dragonfly charm. Oh, we have those bears too, those polar bears. I'll fill those with the resin. You'll see. You'll be laughing after. MTP, oh wait, you're laughing now. I'll be the one who's laughing later. MTP 655 with a retail price of $55.22 and a wholesale price of $41.42. Lovely grape leaves, obviously, all the pave style cubic zirconias in the leaves, and occasional cubic zirconias in the vines. Maybe those are, I don't know, aphids wandering through your grapevines. Lovely cup and peg in the center of that, and the bale incorporated in the design. Can't go wrong with that. MTP, well, let's move that. MTP 013 with a retail price of $13 and a wholesale price of $8.41. Lovely, again, almost a spiritual cousin of that other one, right? That we did, earlier. Stylized teardrop, which are very simple with a cup and peg down at the bottom. The design cleverly incorporated into the baling cleverly incorporated into the design of the piece. Another one you can't go wrong. This one is definitely one of my favorites. MTP 461. What is that? 461. with a retail price of $16.02 and a wholesale price of $10.69. I just love this very three-dimensional sun, I don't know, flame burst, something. It's just very, very cool. I love that sort of spiral effect and the how evocative of movement that is. This has got a cup and a peg for probably 10 millimeters is the biggest you'd put in there, maybe 12. But you could definitely go smaller, 6, 8 millimeter would look great in here. Yeah, and again, nice deep cup and peg. The peg probably not, or probably not short. It's probably longer than you strictly need, so you might need to cut that down. Again, very simple. They're designed to do that. Don't feel like it's a problem. MTP 458 with a retail price of $11.49 and a wholesale price of $7.66. We've got this lovely swoopy sort of flourishes with a very simple cup and peg down at the bottom, with a bail cleverly incorporated into the design. Again, this probably the cup itself is probably 10 millimeters wide, but it's not super deep, so you could definitely go up on the size of the pearl you want. Again, you could probably go like 12 or 14 millimeter pearl, but you don't want to go too far because you really don't want to cover these parts of the design, although I guess you could if you really wanted to. But I think it always adds to the component if you keep all of the component elements of your setting available to see. MTP 114 with a retail price of $30.39 and a wholesale price of $19.29. And this has a very cool bail with a cubic zirconia up at the top, and the bail obviously is articulated with this with the piece. Very simple, kind of rounded, curved square. That cup and peg down in the bottom. The size of that cup is probably 6 millimeters, but you can definitely put an 8 millimeter pearl in there with no problem, or smaller if you want. But up to 10, maybe 10, you start to the pearl would start to go over the edge of the border, which is a total aesthetic choice. Up to you. MTP 492 with a retail price of $18.25 and a wholesale price of $11.41. Again, this is another one of those. Just love this ribbon. It's a ribbon kind of going around back and forth around the cup and peg, and only one side of the ribbon has cubic zirconias in them. Right, so the one side is nice and smooth, the other side has the cubic zirconias, or just evocative of that kind of an effect. I love that how much movement there is in that piece. MTP 488 with a retail price of $25.55 and a wholesale price of $15.96. And again, this is another one of those very three-dimensional pieces with the bail incorporated into the design in the back. It's definitely evocative of a flower, and I think that if you put a nice big pearl in there, golly, you just can't go wrong with that. Here's an interesting piece, nice big tall deep MTP 462 with a retail price of $14.14 and a wholesale price of $9.43. The bail incorporated in the design there, and there's another bail there. That's weird. I guess multiple ways. Oh, you could dangle stuff from there too. Golly, up to you how you use that extra extra bonus bail, but just lovely kind of curving, swoopy things, and with a big sort of inverted wave terminating in that little cup and peg. And don't be intimidated by the little cup, right? You don't have to put something that's really small. That cup itself is probably only about 4 millimeters wide, but I wouldn't feel bad putting a 8 or 10 millimeter pearl in there at all. It would just look so cool. MTP 463 with a retail price of $10.65 and a wholesale price of $7.10. Again, I love this. It looks like it's all one piece, right? This ribbon kind of going up and around, both sides. becoming the bail, right? Turning perpendicular to the plane of the piece to become the bail, with a cup and peg in the center of it. That cup is right, 8 millimeters wide is the size of the cup. Although, boy, I wouldn't feel weird about putting anything bigger or smaller. 6 millimeters, right, up to 10 even, maybe. That's just one of the best thing about these pearl settings. And again, I keep saying pearl settings, but I just, you can obviously, you don't have to, doesn't have to be a pearl. Could be any sphere that's half drilled to go on there. We've actually got two pieces, two different versions of this one, MTP 113 and 113B, and the retail price of the 113 is $33.71, and the wholesale price is $22.18. And the other one, the B version, is $28.15, and the wholesale price is $19.70. And the only difference is a couple of things. They've both got that peg in the middle, but the 113 has two little cubic zirconias nestled in between these little lily pads. And I don't know why, but for some reason, this is one of the most popular settings that we have for pearls. I think it's very organic looking. It's very common looking. This just doesn't have those cubic zirconias in there, right? It still has that cup and peg, the same peg. I just think it's just very organic looking, very cool looking, and I love it. This one, actually, I'm not even sure why this is in this tray, actually, because this is MTP 1213 with a retail price of $21.11 and a wholesale price of $13.20. This is a pinch bail, right? So it's not pearl. Although I guess you could, if you wanted to, you could snip that, that post off and snip that post down to the length and glue your pearl on the back piece, and then you could have all those kind of swirly tentacle looking things covering the pearl. That would actually look very cool now that I'm looking at it. You see, you come up with things on the fly like this. But anyway, normally this is a pinch bail, right, that opens up. You'd cut these posts down to size, right, because depending on the thickness of your piece, you put your piece in there, and then this just has that lovely flowy things over the top of it. It's a gorgeous piece, but it's a little incongruous with the pearl settings. MTP 487 with a retail price of $16.76 and a wholesale price of $10.48. I love this very, I don't know, what feels like almost like a button, bail to me, right? That solid oval bail. It's flat on the inside, square on the inside. Right, this is the angle that it would hang, and lovely swirly, very three-dimensional ribbony piece with that cup and peg down on the bottom. Just whatever pearl you want to nestle in there. I think ostensibly this is designed for like something around 6 millimeters, but I wouldn't feel weird putting anything bigger than that. 8 millimeters, maybe 10 might be pushing it. Yeah, probably some. So like, 4, maybe 5 millimeters up to 6 millimeters, maybe 7, 8. MTP 469 with a retail price of $12.17 and a wholesale price of $8.11. This is like, I don't know, it feels like a sandal to me, like a slippers, right? Like the toes of slippers. I know it's not. It's meant to be, I don't know, like a little treasure sack, maybe, right? It's very three-dimensional piece, right? The cloth here, or the bottom version of this, with all these little pierced and cut out shapes, and the lovely pearl cup and peg mounting that you would put in the top. I think this 7 millimeters. So the size of that circle inside is 7 millimeters, but I would go all the way up to like a 10, maybe even a 12 millimeter. Something to reach all the way up to that frame would be awesome. Again, it doesn't have to be that big. You can get away with, 7 or 8 millimeters would be ideal, and that would be just gorgeous in that piece. MTP 471 with a retail price of 701 and a wholesale price of 467. We've got this just a very simple, elegant soldered loop and bail with a little swoopy thing with a cup and peg down on the bottom. That cup is about 6 or 7 millimeters wide, but it's not super deep, so you can definitely get around, get away with putting a much bigger pearl in there, 8, maybe 10 millimeters. And you don't want to go too far because then it just looks too weird with a little giant pearl in this little setting. Again, this also LJ 781 with a retail price of $15.61 and a wholesale price of $9.76. And so the bail and the piece are almost like it's all one kind of twisty, very cool sort of design. Very three-dimensional with that cup and the peg dangling from the bottom. And with this kind of a cup and peg, right, dangling from the bottom of the pearl, you can put anything you want in there. Tiny pearl, like a 4 millimeter pearl, all the way up to, well, maybe 4 might be way too small. Maybe 6 millimeters, all the way up to, I've seen huge ones in here, like 20 millimeter pearls dangling from the bottom of those. MTP 489 with a retail price of $11.51 and a wholesale price of $7.19. And again, this is another one of those things where it's kind of difficult to see what the final design would look like without a pearl in there. Because ideally, if you got the right size pearl, which would be, what is that, 7 millimeters? Is that 7? Probably 8. So I would say 8. If you put an 8 millimeter pearl in there, it would extend all the way to the edges, and all you would see is these two little silver swoops along the top and the bottom of your pearl, right? Definitely framing them beautifully, highlighting them. This is one of those, hey, look at my pearl, instead of, hey, look at this cute pendant that has a pearl in there, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Semantics. But it's everything. MTP 1215 with a retail price of $16.46 and a wholesale price of $10.29. And again, I love this leaf design with that texture on the inside. Very three-dimensional, right? Nice and smooth on the back. That giant cup and peg that would fit, golly, anything from 7 or 8 millimeter pearl all the way up to maybe 12 or 14. 14 might be pushing it. So like 12, 10 or 12. MTP 464 with a retail price of $13.98 and a wholesale price of $9.32. And so this, I love this. It's not cubic zirconias. It's just kind of like a mill-grain texture on the inside of every alternating, kind of spiral. So it's, kind of a flowery thing with the cup and peg on the in the middle. Again, with an open framework like this, personally, I would like a pearl big enough to completely cover that cup and peg. Although, because it's so cute and the cup itself looks kind of like a flower, you can get away with a much smaller pearl. But for a big piece like that, I want a big pearl that just kind of completely covers that. Gorgeous. But not as gorgeous as this. MTP 472 with a retail price of $17.30 and a wholesale price of $11.53. That can't be right. That seems way too cheap for this. Anyway, rows of cubic zirconias in there. Lovely kind of scrolly work. Lovely cubic zirconias in the bail. Actually, I'm almost guaranteed that's wrong. Get it now, because once we figure it out, the price is going to go up probably. I love this. MTP 472. I feel like the price is not right. It's too cheap. And that's just not me on camera trying to sell this thing. I feel like, yeah, or maybe not. Our stuff is just that good. And we're that inexpensive. MTP 650 with a retail price of $40.56 and a wholesale price of $25.35. And I just love this nice big open frame, right? With this row of cubic zirconias kind of imitating rope, kind of covering around your pearl and wrapping around up at the top. This lovely giant dome, closed dome with the cup and peg down at the bottom. Now with this closed dome, you know what I'm going to say. It wants to have epoxy. Filled with lovely, I mean, that you know, if you're doing that commemoration jewelry, right, this is like a winner. This is golly, you can make a lovely fill that with epoxy resin with your dog's ashes, or you know, clipping of grandma's hair, or whatever you want. People are doing weird things, or mixing that epoxy resin with breast milk, dried breast milk. Whatever works. MTP 177 with a retail price of $22.22 and a wholesale price of $13.33. And again, I love this. It's almost free form, but not. It's a leaf, obviously. I love this kind of filigree sort of design with that mill grain texture in it. This little row of cubic zirconias down at the bottom. Golly, it's just so cool. Nice deep basket with that cup and peg. I love the three little hearts that make the cup. So again, smaller pearl would work all the way up to, how big would you put in there? Maybe up to 12 millimeters. Yeah. And this sadly is my last setting of the pearl setting, so the last one for the day, and we saved one of the best ones for last. MTP 165 with a retail price of $44.34 and a wholesale price of $27.72. And I love this nice, you know, solid framework. Rows of cubic zirconias up and down, you know, this plumeria leaves. Or the petals of a plumeria flower, the mill grain texture in the edges of that. I know it looks like beaten bright cut, but it's not. And the big cup and peg in the bottom of that. The size of that opening, you're looking at about 8 millimeters. So 8 millimeters, maybe 10 millimeters at the most, but you can definitely go smaller than that. You can go, you know, 6 millimeter as well would be awesome. And that's it. That is all of the pearl settings. Again, I know I keep saying this, but I feel like I have to reiterate. When I say pearl settings, you know, they're ostensibly for pearls, but you can put any cut stone, or not cut stone in it. Although you could put cut stone if you want, as long as it has a hole drilled in it. Any, you know, sphere, or even, you know, rough shaped stone, you know, like a irregular shaped stone, as long as there's a hole partially drilled through it, that you glue onto that. And again, for gluing stones or pearls onto the settings, we always recommend using a good two-part epoxy glue, the kind where you have the part A that is the epoxy, and part B is the hardener, and use usually it's equal parts of each. So you put a little dab on a thing, a little dab of the other one, and you mix them together, and you've got I don't know, 10-20 minutes of work time before it starts to get too sticky. That kind of epoxy is what all the good jewelers use. The good jewelers. I not want to take away anything from those clear craft glues like the 527, or what's the other one? Is another one, it's the number E6000 is the other more real popular one. I don't want to take anything away from those, but those glues are great if one of the stitia are porous. So if you're gluing metal to leather or glass to wood or something, right? It could be one side is, perfectly smooth, but as long as one side is porous like wood or leather or something, you can get some pretty good adhesion. When you're gluing glass or stones or pearls to metal, they don't create a strong enough bond, and the good two-part epoxy will do that. Obviously, glues are never permanent, which anybody who's ever owned a piece of jewelry that's has glued on pieces will tell you. Eventually, something is gonna break, fall apart. That's why you can buy more glue. What else? I think that's it. Next week, we're going to start on the rings. And I haven't really decided how I'm going to do that. If I'm going to go by shape order, so we'll do all the rounds first and then all the ovals. The ovals might take a couple of weeks. The rounds might take a couple of weeks too. Or if I'm just going to do them by more or less by size, by the trays, I'll probably just do them by the trays that we have, and it'll be random. So yeah, that'll be fun because we get to make up stuff as I go again, depending on the different shapes of the things. And that really is the trick to talking about jewelry for a long time, is you just make stuff up as you go. And as long as you're speaking from the heart, it all works. Golly, and I got in just barely at an hour, which is always our target. So I'm not going to do a long post-show blah, 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 because I want to keep this close to an hour as I can. Thanks for joining us again. Don't forget, if you share the video, we'll send you one of those polishing cloths. Although all my initial stuff in the preamble still stands. Thank you for joining us. We'll be here again next week, next Wednesday, 10:30 Pacific, and extrapolate it out to wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourself, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health. If you're feeling anxious, who isn't? A little existential dread, which is normal par for the course these days, right? Make something, do something, and if you're an artist and you're working on stuff, or a metalsmith or a thing, what works for me, if I'm stuck and I can't quite seem to progress, or I can't quite seem to get over that artist block where you're sitting there, you've got all these materials that are sitting around, and you're not inspired, you don't know what to do. Just start making something that you've already made. If it's something that you're comfortable, you made something, preferably that's easy enough that you can make it without thinking about what you're doing so much. Because just the simple function of your hands moving and getting into that fugue state of where your focus is on the piece that you're working on, that's when the synapses start firing and creativity starts flowing from that. And I don't want to get too hippie about it, but that's how your brain works. You got to keep going over old pathways to create new ones. And sometimes getting onto the old pathways is all it takes to be able to open up the new ones. Anyway, I've gone on way too long. We will see you next week. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us, and take care, and bye-bye.